There's been like a lack of really good paranormal stories that might hold some water that's been flooded by the internet with what we've talked about many times is called creepypasta, which is just clearly fake shit that people make up. It's kind of like the new version of like campfire stories, right?
Yeah, more or less. It's like the new version of folk stories, folk tales, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Well, tonight, instead of complaining about all the fake stuff that's out there,
we will celebrate it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the good fake stuff.
And the stuff that kind of carries over into the real world. So, well, sort of. Sometimes stories, even though they're made up, seem to have echoes into our reality. Like Slender Man, for instance.
Yeah. Who's not tired of Slender Man yet?
Well, he's got a movie coming out, so you'll be seeing plenty more of him. And I'm sure there's going to be, probably 3 sequels at least. And
action figures at Walmart that all the kids want?
Oh, yeah, definitely action figures at Walmart and underwear. And that'll probably be like the cool Halloween costume this year. Like we had Pennywise last year. This year it'll be the Slender Man.
Great. Yay. Well, that sounds like a good place to start. Guys, we hate to break it to you, but Slender Man is not real.
Blasphemy. Blasphemy.
We know, it's so sad. I love Slender Man. He is one of the cooler urban myths to be created in a long time.
He is really cool, but he makes no sense. Why does he have a suit and a tie, but he lives in the woods? And it's so weird.
No face, but can put that tie on.
Yeah. What's up with that? Like, if he's going to be a wood man, why not be all, I don't know, viney or something, or covered in moss?
Oh, that would be way cooler, like a Swamp Thing dude.
Yeah.
That would be cooler. The whole suit thing is just a little too new agey hot topic for me.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
I saw a movie recently that I reviewed for The Slaughtered Bird. It was called Flayed. And they, in the movie, they kind of tried to do an origin for Slender Man.
Really?
Yeah. Oh God, it was terrible. Don't even try to be hopeful about it.
Oh.
Their origin made no sense because it was Slender Man with the suit and tie and no face. But his origin was that he was an Indian shaman that was flayed alive and then killed by natives.
Wow.
And and he was bound by these magical chains, and when he came back, his spirit came back, I should say, as the Slender Man, wearing the suit and tie for some inexplicable reason.
Yeah, his first stop back from the afterlife was to stop at the Men's Warehouse, get fitted, and then steal some kids. That's one thing I'll say about, I don't know about this original Slender Man. Let's start off by, Slender Man came from a website called Something Awful. And from what I understand, they were doing some type of contest where they wanted somebody to make up some type of new creature with a photo, an old photo. So this dude just made up Slender Man. It's just like your back in 1991 post. It's just a post somebody made.
Yeah. And the difference being that he was intentionally putting out where I was not intentionally releasing it to the greater public.
But in a lot of the representations of Slender Man, I mean, the whole Marble Hornets thing, he didn't kill or hurt anybody. He just, I
never finished that.
Oh man, it still holds up. I was just showing it to my daughter and she got through like 24 of them in one day. It's awesome.
Yeah, I was hooked for a while. I think I got up to like episode 70 something.
If you guys haven't seen that, definitely check it out. But there's even a case in there to where he takes somebody who's like deep in the woods, lost, and when they wake up, they're like next to a road, completely safe. So technically, in that series and that depiction of Slender Man, he didn't really hurt anybody, but maybe even help somebody.
Did he end up being the hero? Because every time he shows up, it was just kind of like, oh shit, and then like something weird happens.
Yeah,
it was a really good series. I don't know why I never finished it. I should go back and watch that again.
Yeah, the ending's great. We'll put in the show notes in case anybody wants to watch that. For me, that's Slender Man. They called him the operator because obviously they can't use the name Slender Man.
Yeah. But that makes it even cooler, man.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if Slender Man were a thing that existed, we wouldn't know that he was Slender Man. Especially at that point when that was coming out. Like, Slender Man hadn't become the huge, massive phenomenon at that point yet. It was obviously something they had heard of and used it, but it wasn't part of, like, mainstream public knowledge, really.
Mm-hmm.
So it would make sense if he were a thing that existed in the world, people would not be calling him Slender Man. They'd have other names for him.
Yeah. But as much as we want the child-stealing nightmare creature that is Slender Man to be real, he's not. But there are some people who we've come to lovingly call assholes who do think Slender Man is real.
Maybe assholes is a little harsh.
No.
Maybe we should just call them misguided youths.
Yeah, I mean, maybe by the end of this you'll agree with assholes more. But these assholes, as I'll stick with, they wanted him to be real so bad that they were willing to kill.
Murder.
To murder somebody. Or at least, I don't know. I don't know if that's part of his lore. I mean, we're all familiar with the case of those two chicks in Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
That was in May 31st, 2014. And yeah, I guess they lured one of their school friends into a wooded area and stabbed her 19 times and left her for dead. And they did this, they said, so that they could summon Slender Man and become one
was it so they could summon him? I thought they had already been promised by him that they could go live with him in his mansion. But for some reason, he wanted them to kill their friend first so that they could go live in the mansion.
Something like that. They did say that they had spoken to him before, but I think that this was something to bring him to our dimension, to make him real to them. Yeah. And they also mentioned wanting to become his proxies, which I don't think that's in the fucking Slender Man lore at all.
Yeah, that was weird. And what does that mean? Like, they would become Slender Man? Like, when Slender Man stopped slendering, they would be the Slenders?
But see, this is why I call them assholes. Because we already know that Slender Man's a fake thing. I mean, 2009 to 2014 is plenty of time for people to realize that it was made up. It was on the news everywhere. I mean, there's tons of fake videos of Slender Man. We all know that. But, I mean, they're obviously fake. So that's why I chose the word assholes. Especially since they stabbed some other 12-year-old girl and left her for dead. But she managed to crawl to a nearby road, and a cyclist saw her, and he picked her up and saved her life. She ended up surviving. But out of the two girls that pulled this shit off, one was sentenced to 25 years in a mental hospital, while the other one, and again fortifying my case to calling them assholes, was sentenced to 40 years. Probably gave her such a hard sentence after she admitted to regularly talking to Lord Voldemort and one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Whoa. I didn't know that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were available for speaking engagements.
I need to talk to all of them, like right now.
I mean, really, I just kind of want to talk to Donatello for a few minutes, and maybe give Michelangelo a high five.
Yeah. So obviously, we're dealing with. I mean, if the attempted murder thing doesn't convince you, I think it's the Ninja Turtle thing that sold it for me. The mental illness. These two kids. I mean, they're everybody involved's 12 years old when this goes down, which is sad. But it's sad to see. But it's just clearly mental illness.
Or maybe it's a tulpa.
Maybe, but what do 12-year-olds know about tulpas?
It doesn't have to be something that they know about. Somebody else could have created it, and then it took on a life of its own.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't be so quick to judge and jump to mental illness. Maybe they were talking to some type of spirit or something else that, maybe saw in their mind.
It was taking the form of something they were familiar with.
Yeah, exactly. there were two little hardcore internet nerds that loved all that creepypasta shit. So that's what it represented itself as.
Yeah, could be, man. That's what I'm saying. Like it really, when it happened, it sounded perfect for a horror movie. You know, like this story that everyone knows is just like kind of like Wes Craven's New Nightmare, where Freddy Krueger comes out into the real world. Do you remember that one?
I was actually, for some reason, just reading up on all the Freddy Krueger movies. Yeah.
Yeah, that I always liked that one. Like, I thought it was such a cool idea that because people believed and feared him, it created this being that was able to come out as a representation of Freddy into the real world.
Yeah, you can go all the way back to like the Greek pantheon of gods, right? That's why they needed people to worship them. It like kept them alive.
Yeah, worshippers equaled strength.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. I used to be a butcher, and I can't see myself as a full-grown adult stabbing somebody 19 times. It doesn't take that much to kill somebody with a knife. That's just, to me, that's insanity. That's just some psychopathic little assholes.
Or maybe they're just being lured by wacky spirits, Mateo. Stop being so judgmental.
I will. We all know about that case, but there's been a couple other cases where they've linked Slender Man to shit like this. In the same year in Ohio, a 13-year-old girl attacked her mother with a kitchen knife after reading and writing about Slender Man. Also in 2014, a 14-year-old tried to burn down their family home and kill her mother and sister. After being interviewed by the police, the teen told them that she was downright obsessed with Slender Man. But I just don't understand why they think murder's gonna fucking bring Slender Man around. He doesn't fucking murder anybody.
Can you prove that?
Not in any of the lore that they're reading. I mean, there could have been some fucking fellow asshole who made their own Slender Man story, and he was like, yeah, he carries a gun.
Because in the Creepypasta community, there's a lot of stories about Slender Man that feature Slender Man, and some of them share similarities. Some of them take the lore to a whole different level and give him all sorts of wacky powers, and some paint him as a hero, some paint him as a bad guy, some just paint him as kind of like a neutral character that exists in our universe. So, I mean, the stories about Slender Man are wide and varied.
That's true, but I mean, even I can't just get over the fact that this started off as something that we know that was made up. And these kids know it too. If they're reading that much on Slender Man, I guarantee you they went to his fucking Wikipedia. I don't know. It's weird to me. But also, another incident took place in 2015 where a suicide epidemic swept the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in Nebraska. And after investigating, the police named Slender Man as a major influence, and the president of the Oglala tribe noted a link to what he described as a suicide spirit that exists in their culture to Slender Man. So I don't know if these kids were taught about this suicide spirit and saw Slender Man and just linked it, and for some reason thought it would be cool to start killing themselves. I don't know how many people killed themselves during this epidemic, but it was enough to cause a panic and have it looked into. So again, 2015, and he was made in 2009. I'm not buying any of this shit. I think these are all just mentally ill people. It's just, to me, I don't know. I've never wanted to kill anybody over something that I knew was fake. I can't relate to that.
But what if it's not fake, though?
Then we're talking about an actual Freddy Krueger-like thing where the same entity's appearing to tons of people.
What I mean by that is, what if it's more like the concept itself maybe isn't fake? Maybe it was a seed that was planted in somebody's mind to bring it forward into the public consciousness. So that if enough people believed or feared or whatever, then it could gain strength and come into our world.
That's weird. Who knows what caused this dude to create Slender Man in the first place? Maybe he dabbled in black magic and was trying to make a Topol-like entity.
Maybe. And maybe that was his whole point. Maybe. And he's like, you know what? There's a contest. Let me create some really creepy pictures and get that out on the internet for thousands of people to see, and millions now, and use that to manifest this being that I'm trying to summon, or whatever he's doing. Or maybe he's just a normal guy who's just got a really creepy creative side.
Yeah, he had said that it was sad that had happened and all these cases happened, but he wasn't really going to comment on them. And I wouldn't either if I was just some dude who visited a website and made a character. I wouldn't think, as somebody who draws stuff and as a kid tried to make their own comic books, I would feel like shit if somebody wanted to kill, another person to gain whatever based on a character that I made. So I'm sure the guy feels the same way, unless he's fucking a mentally ill asshole too. And it's okay if you're mentally ill. I'm not really bashing people who have
I'm just calling you an asshole, that's all.
Well,
it's fine, you're an asshole, but it's fine.
There's plenty of people who are mentally ill. I mean, there's people who suffer from anxiety disorders who are classified as mentally ill. Hell, I'd be considered mentally ill if that's the case, but the assholes are the one who thinks they're gonna get some type of supernatural power through murder from a creature that doesn't exist. I like I said, it's terrible, but I want to buy the lone nerd wizard guy who wants to create an evil being more than I want to believe that it's like, if somebody shoots their friend in the face because it'll bring around the manifestation of the Care Bears that'll spread world peace. It's just fucking madman rambling nonsense.
A lot of this reminds me of the idea of Lovecraft, that Lovecraft, when he was creating all his old gods, that he was drawing from something that he wasn't even aware of, that these things were things that really existed and they were put inside of his head.
Injected into his mind?
Yeah, so that he could tell the world about them.
See, that I'm willing to consider and play with that idea, because Lovecraft was a great writer. I mean, he could describe something that sounds so terrible in a paragraph or two. There's a lot of stuff behind that. Not an internet article, though.
Well, they didn't have the internet in the 20s.
Well, no, but I'm sure this internet article these two girls read it that wasn't as deep and touching and profound as Lovecraft's writings.
No, but people are dumb now.
Yeah, see, that's the assholes.
Just look. Yeah, you don't have to call dumb people assholes. God damn, you're a judgmental prick tonight.
I am. It's been a rough week.
You dumb fucks, you guys are assholes. But I mean, it was a different time. If you wanted to, you actually had to make the effort. If you wanted to learn something or read something, you couldn't just click on some link on Facebook and get a 3-page description of some mythical creature. You had to read it in very, very detailed terms for pages, using strange words that you were only vaguely aware existed.
That had to add to the whole occult feel to the whole thing. Like, how could he think of it? That's one thing I love about Lovecraft, is you think about the time and you're like, how many people can read and write, as well as you'd think, or you'd want them to, and to come across his work and be like, this is what this dude chose to write about. Where does that come from? If I was alive then, I definitely would have been like, yeah, that guy worships the devil or something.
Well, he wasn't very very famous in his time. It was long after his death where he really took off.
Yeah, I love how he encouraged other people to add to his whole mythos and his stories and stuff like that, which to me, that has a greater link to Slender Man, how people have just built off of it, which is fascinating.
And people are still building off of it. I mean, really, if you get down to it, Lovecraft or Slender Man could very easily fit in the mythos. He's just some weird being that lives in the woods for some reason, and he can teleport, and sometimes he has tentacles. Maybe he's like one of the offspring of Shub-Niggurath.
Or Nyarlathotep when he's in his creature form.
Yeah, could be.
Slender Man is very Lovecraftian in appearance when you think about it.
Yeah.
With a little splash of H.R. Geiger.
And a suit. A nice dapper suit.
Now, Mike, after all these cases that we just talked about, and of course that famous case with the stabbings, with this movie coming out, do you think we're going to, not if it's possible, because it's clearly possible, but do you think we're going to see more cases like this once Slender Man's on the big screen?
No, I don't think so, because at that point, it's a movie, and everybody knows that movie's fake. So I think if there was a tulpa out there of Slender Man specifically, that the movie will effectively kill it, even though it's putting more eyes and more awareness towards it. It's also showing that it's fake because it's in a movie.
That's a great point. And I think it's very interesting that you say that. I mean, it makes me think about watching the first Iron Man movie. How cool it was to see Tony Stark, the arc reactor, the Mach 1, the Mach 5, and it looked great. But it definitely cemented in my head is, yeah, that shit can't exist. That's not really going to happen. And it's because it's a movie. It didn't sink in as hard with the comic books. But the movie, seeing it visually, was like, yeah, that's really, really impossible.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to stabilize your body with one of those things. Come on.
No.
That's crazy talk. But speaking of Lovecraft, have you ever read this story or heard of the story Pickman's Model?
Yes, sir.
So for anyone who's not familiar with the story, it's basically about this. The main character meets this artist named Pickman. He paints these really creepy monster creature things, and the main character thinks that it's just some product of his twisted mind, but then he ends up seeing one of these creatures digging in the graves, and he describes the creature, and he calls it a ghoul, and I believe it's modeled after the Arabic creature, the ghoul. But this creature, have you heard of the rake?
Yes, sir.
The creepypasta.
Yeah, that one's pretty creepy. There's some cool pictures of that thing.
Yeah, and that's basically what the creature looks like in Pickman's Model.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, it's like a long gangly thing, and the most famous picture of the rake is probably the one that's the trail cam. And it's got that thing crouched down with the glowing eyes and the long, slender arms. And it kind of looks like it's snarling.
Yeah, I remember when that came out, it made its rounds on all the paranormal sites. People thought that was real.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a picture in a trail cam, so who's to say for real, But there's a lot of lore about this in the creepypasta world. But my favorite one was from an alleged witness in 2006. And her story goes that in 2003, she had just come home from a trip in Niagara Falls with her family. They went for the 4th of July. And she's from some rural place in New York. And they'd been driving all day, and they got home, and they put the kids to bed. Then they went to bed. Around 4 a.m, she wakes up. When she wakes up, she assumes it was from some sort of movement that her husband got out of bed. And she's settling in, readjusting the covers and everything. And when she's doing that, she wakes her husband up. So she's surprised for a second because she thought he had gotten out of bed. So he's turning back around to settle back in. And all of a sudden, he freaks out because he sees something at the end of his bed. And according to her story, her eyes were able to adjust. And at the foot of her bed, she saw this thing that she said it appeared to either be a naked man or a large hairless dog. But its body position was all like weird and unnatural and, kind of hunched over. She said it had the appearance like it had been hit by a car. So I think she meant like the body was contorted in that way, probably not all bloody and shit. But she said when she saw it, despite its odd appearance, she wasn't instantly frightened by it, but more concerned for its well-being because of the way it looked. And it all of a sudden ran over to her husband, and it started looking at him. And then it ran over to his side of the bed and stopped right in front of his face. And it just sat there and looked at her husband for, she said it was probably 30 seconds. but it just sat there. And it put its hand on her husband's leg and then ran out into the hallway towards her kid's room. So she gets freaked out. She runs down the hall, turns the lights on, and she sees it hunched over in the doorway of her kid's room. And then it turned around and looked at her. It's all covered in blood at this point. And then she sees her daughter. And her daughter says, "He is the rake." And then her husband gets her in the car and they rush to the hospital. But something happened and neither the husband or the daughter survived. It wasn't clear if they got in an accident or if something else happened and they died. But her husband and the daughter died. And they called the police got involved, but obviously they didn't find anything. So this woman takes her son and they leave town for a while. They go to nearby hotels and then they go to her parents' house. A few months go by and they go back home. And when she gets back home, she starts looking into this rake thing. And she actually found somebody in the next town over who had a story that was similar to hers, where he saw the rake and one of his children died. And he said that he knew 2 other people in New York who had seen the creature as well. So the 4 of them banded together and were just researching, trying to find more information on this. And they were able to just find some passing sightings or people reporting that they saw similar creatures. But they found one journal that had references to this creature in the first 3 pages, but then for the rest of the journal, nothing was ever mentioned again. So that I don't know, that's kind of weird. But she started to get paranoid that maybe this creature would come back. So what she was able to find with the research was that most of the people that experienced the rake had been visited by the rake before something happened. So they had visited several times. And even though she doesn't remember ever seeing it before the night it attacked her daughter, she started getting paranoid that it was coming back. So she set up recording devices in her room to record her every night. And she said for the first 2 weeks, nothing happened. But then on the first day of the 3rd week, she started hearing this sound in the background. And she was able to isolate the sound and she found that it was a shrill voice. But she said it wasn't anything that she was able to transcribe. But she said upon hearing that, it reminded her of the night when the rake was in her room. And she said at the time she had remembered that the rake was looking at her husband and it was silent. But she said after she heard the sound, it reminded her that she had heard that sound before that night when it was facing her husband. But that's not... that's like the main story that was created about the rake. And then there's some other things that go along, like people writing suicide notes talking about it. And, they kill themselves rather than have to face it again. Things like that. But I don't know. It's pretty interesting that it's like Pickman's model in appearance and that it's, although in traditionally ghouls only eat dead bodies. So I don't, it's probably something completely different, but it's got a similar appearance. But I mean, it's a fucking terrifying.
Yeah, that was terrifying appearance and story too. I mean,
yeah,
I almost want them to make a movie of that more than a Slender Man movie.
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen depictions of it that look similar. Have you ever seen the movie The Descent?
Oh yeah,
yeah. I've seen a lot that look familiar to that. Which, goddamn, that movie. Whew.
Yeah, I love that movie. The first time I saw it, that movie blew me away. That was great.
Yeah, super intense.
Yeah. Ugh, just some of those camera shots. I'm claustrophobic as fuck, so.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, I'm really not that claustrophobic, but that really got me. And then when the cave-in happened, I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God.
Ugh. Yeah, but the rake's a cool one. I like the rake. I mean, there's a lot of things that have the same appearance. And in this story that you told, you just hear the borrowing from other things, you can hear. I mean, it's like the Babadook was in there a little bit. It sounded like the way it approached them and chilled in the room. And then people
Yeah.
killing themselves instead of dealing with it draws back to it. But
Yeah.
that's one of the cooler ones, I think, of the creepypasta stories. You know, I'm joking and being surly and shit like that about creepypastas. We've talked about how they've kind of ruined studying some things and investigating some things. But, I mean, I think it's kind of cool that people have the skill and ability. I mean, I think it's a skill to be able to make something that cool. But maybe that's just a reaction to there not being any cool ghost stories anymore or anything like that.
I don't even think it's that there's no ghost stories out there anymore, because there's plenty of ghost stories, and I think what we're seeing here is just people being able to with the internet now, they're able to have an audience for the stories that they want to tell. You know, it's no longer just people randomly just sitting at home typing their stuff and maybe putting excerpts on their live journal page that like 10 people see. You know, like you look at the Reddit community and all of the threads that are based around creepypastas, and it is wildly popular. And that's why, like, even on YouTube, if you look on YouTube, the amount of creepypasta narrators that there are out there.
Oh yeah, man.
And they're super popular channels too.
It is. There's quite a few creepypasta stories that I'm a fan of. But that's what kind of got me into the whole SCP thing. I mean, there's even a couple SCP creatures that sound like the Rake.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of crossover there between the SCPs and the creepypastas.
Me too. It's basically the same.
I'm surprised there's no Slender Man SCP.
I'm sure there is.
There probably is.
Something close to it.
He probably just has a really cool name.
I was talking to our friend Krista, and she was mentioning how she loved the SCP reads we used to do. And I was thinking of why we kind of backed off from doing them, and it's open source, you know, just like Creepypasta. Anybody can write what they want. So, I mean, there's just too many pizza boxes that refill after you close it and toasters that will kill you. We kind of did the cool, scary ones.
There's still plenty that I wanted to do. A lot of really cool ones.
I think we should.
We'll see, Mateo. We'll see. So going back to like Slender Man and how he's making appearances in our everyday life. Did you know that the Goat Man is also a creepypasta?
No, I thought that was something that's actually seen.
It is, but it's also a creepypasta.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, Goatman sightings go back hella far, right?
That's the thing. I don't know because of the fucking creepypasta.
I remember that one of the first things I saw on Goatman, it was, I don't know if it was Monster Hunters or Monster Quest, but those two buddies would go sleep in that trailer when they were hunting. Do you remember that? And it knocked over their whole camper.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, that was pretty recent. So it very well could have been from the creepypasta.
Yeah. And even like those reports that, like the original report, I think was from the 50s or 60s or something, with the teenagers making out in the car or whatever. And then they got attacked by the Goat Man with the axe.
Yeah.
Or was that the Bunny Man? I might be confusing the two.
Bunny Man has an axe too, but that's a person in a bunny costume, not a monster.
Yeah. I think I'm thinking about the Bunny Man, though, with the couple making out in the car, and then they get attacked by the axe. I think that was Bunny Man, not Goat Man. Goat Man was the one that was throwing shit off a cliff onto people, wasn't he?
I think so. There's a few different stories. I mean, I've heard him being reported with an axe. I've heard him being reported with like some remnants of broken chains on his wrist. All that good stuff.
Yeah. We did a whole episode on the Goat Man. You guys can go check it out and listen to us ramble on for like an hour about this Goat Man. But there's a lot of people that have reported seeing this, but it's also a creepypasta that was created. So where one starts and the other ends, it's hard to say. Like, are these people reporting it just furthering the creepypasta, or is the creepypasta coincidence that this thing really exists, or is it another tulpa? It's hard to say, because I didn't ever hear about the Goat Man until I was doing research on the internet.
Same here.
So once, it wasn't in books when I was younger, before the internet existed. And even though you've got all these reports saying things happened decades ago, there's nothing that really indicates that it was real. You're just getting posts on the internet. And that's kind of the cool thing about creepypasta, though, is that all it takes is someone to create a popular monster or character or whatever, and then anyone can run with it. And in that way, it's, like a new urban legend or folktale. People will tell this story, and then they'll relate it to something that happened to their cousin's best friend, 3 towns over. His little brother was killed by the rake.
Yeah. Now, do you think that since creatures that come from creepypasta and stuff like the goat man that really didn't appear until the internet, do you think that's part of the lore of adding to the mythos of something, or adding your own story to it is just it being so wildly popular and it being on the internet?
Yeah, because with the internet, you can share ideas and get responses within minutes of you sharing that idea. So you create a creepy story, and then someone else reads that story and wants to perpetuate the story. All they have to do is write another chapter to your story. They just, because I feel like for the most part, everyone is in on it. So even the people that are reading the threads on Reddit of the people posting their stories, and they're responding to these people as though these are events that are really happening, but it's just everybody adding to the myth. Everyone's adding their part. And whether it be just offering words of encouragement to the person going through whatever crazy shit the author is writing about, or whether it's someone spreading the story further by relating it to their life. So you've got the witness that can back up your claims by saying that they've also experienced that, or they know someone else that experienced that, whether it be the rake or the goat man or slender man or whatever. If you got more than one person that is reporting their own experiences with this, it adds more realism to it, and it just makes things more fun, and it makes it's interactive storytelling, but it's also like, back in the old days when stories were spread by word of mouth, and this is a modern version of that. We're just using the internet, and now instead of oral tradition, you've got written tradition, and everything that you write, especially on these threads and everything, unless it's removed by a moderator, is going to be there. And then there's people that collect it all, and there's tons of different creepypasta sites that have everything linked so you can see every single story.
Yeah, I actually found the creator of Slender Man's DeviantArt page, so I'll put that in the show notes as well, so people can see all the different photos that he made with that. I just can't help but wonder how many people grew up in like heavily wooded areas whose grandpa told them about, just on the whim, some story about the goat man, keep the kids from wandering the woods at night, and then read about something called the goat man and going, no, I remember as a kid hearing about something like that. I wonder if there were like Creature of the Lumberwood stories of a goat man that roamed around the woods like that. I think
Maybe.
that's plausible. I also think it's very plausible for a bunch of people just to conspire and try to spread a story like that. We all watched it happen with the strange noises from around the world where it sounded like trumpets or machinery was coming from the sky. I mean, there's videos coming out, relatively like the same day, a lot the same day, some the next day, some the next week, to where they were all just reporting the same thing from all over the world. Belgium, France, almost every country had videos, and it's, they were all obviously faked, but that had to take some type of correspondence and planning, coercion and stuff like that. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. We've basically seen it happen before. It's easy to do with the internet now.
Yeah, and that's why doing research on anything paranormal, whether it be haunted, ghost documentation or UFO videos, because of this level of sophistication that we have with photo and video editing software, people can create sightings and make it seem very believable. So sometimes it's hard to tell whether footage or documentation is real or not. Like I've pointed it out before, but that UFO over the Dome of the Rock from like, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years ago now. That's one of my favorite UFO videos of all time, but I don't know if it's real or not. I know that one of the videos has been debunked, but there were 3 other videos. So were they all fake and people just faked from different angles, or was only one of them fake? I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird, especially with that case. You think of why, if there's 2 really great pieces of footage of this thing, why make a fake third or a fake fourth? Why would somebody do that? That's weird.
To create deniability.
That's true.
Because if one, just like you said, if one's fake, why would the other 2 be real? But maybe one was fake just to create the deniability, or to plant the seed of doubt in others' minds.
I'm definitely a big believer in, if you want to see something, you're going to. I mean, I remember watching an episode of In Search of when I was a kid about Bigfoot, and I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't good old Joe Nickel, but somebody conducted this experiment to where they put, like, I don't know, 5 groups of people, separate groups of people. You know, some of them had 2 people, some had 3. And they put them in an area, and they told them that there's been Bigfoot spotted around here like crazy. And they just let them walk around this area and filmed them. And like 3 of the people came back with sightings of Bigfoot. And they were well in control of the area. There was no Bigfoot near. But 3 people walked out of there and told them that for real they saw a Bigfoot while they were there. And that really...
They did an experiment like that at Loch Ness as well. They had a log set up underwater, so that as a group of tourists walked through this place, they'd release the log, and so it would spring to the surface and kind of shoot out of the water a little bit and then splash back down, and just to see what people saw. And most people did say they saw a log, but then other people started adding different things to it. Like one person added a bend so that it looked like a bent head and neck coming up out of the water. But it was just a regular log. And you're absolutely right, though. I mean, if you got someone that wants to see a UFO and they're watching the sky at night and, you know, they see a plane coming from the right angle, it's going to look like a UFO. You know, sometimes planes don't just fly overhead and have the blinky lights. Sometimes you'll see it as a single point of light for a while, and it'll be big and bright and intense, and you won't hear anything until it flies over. And then you hear it. And then as it flies over, you can see that there's the lights on the wings and all that. But, you know, you could even see a shooting star and it looks a little weird. So maybe it's a UFO. Or you see a satellite crossing the sky and it's you're watching this single point of light move silently across the sky and then it just fades away. But, you know, that's just a satellite. That's what they do.
Yeah, I remember that episode of In Search of ending with whoever did that experiment. I wish I remembered who, but they said if somebody wants to see something, they're going to. And that's true. So I don't know if you're some goofy kid with an overactive imagination who lives near the woods, who goes out into the woods thinking about Goatman. You come home with a story about seeing a goat man, or you're seeing something that maybe is just out of the ordinary, something they're not used to seeing. They're just going to throw goat man to it, I guess. Makes me appreciate people like Joe Nickel more, you know. You got to have somebody saying, "Come on, that could have been anything."
Yeah, I'm on Team Joe Nickel.
Yeah, when I hear about stuff like girls trying to kill other girls over an internet creation, makes me a bigger Joe Nickel fan too.
Yeah, I remember he used to make me so mad back in the day. Like, you don't believe in anything. How could you discount this evidence?
Me too. Did you see his experiment that he did at Loch Ness? I don't know if he did it at Loch Ness, but he definitely did it at a lake. And
no, I don't believe so.
He used a log. Dude, this one pissed me off so bad because he was so fucking right. He grabbed like 3 different sized logs and had a boat take him out in the middle of this lake and just asked passersby, "Hey guys, can you tell me, you see that log? tell me how big that log is. And it just, I mean, it was every log, every person was exaggerated by like dozens of feet sometimes. You know, it was a 6-foot log, and there wasn't one person who said it was under 10 feet. And that alone, I was like, man, fuck you, Joe Nichols. You're a dick.
But it's crazy.
He was right,
but
though.
It's right. I mean, our perception of things is very rarely accurate. You know, like we regularly underestimate or overestimate distance and size. And so you hear someone say 20 feet, you can almost rest assured it's less than 10.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that shit.
Yeah, I guess it lends to eyewitnesses being the worst type of evidence.
Yeah.
You know, they, I guess whoever wrote that rule had to say, it's like, what about ghosts? Oh, okay. Yeah, well then we can't.
Spooky ghosts.
Yeah. These people said he saw a headless woman flying through his garage. He's either crazy or just seeing what he wants to fucking see.
But then again, isn't that what religion is? Just relying on alleged witness testimony from thousands of years ago?
Yeah. Testimony written hundreds of years after the events happened, too.
Yeah. But they're eyewitness accounts, Mateo. It's got to count for something. There's this, I can't read. He's a Monsignor in the Vatican. Balducci, I think he's Monsignor Balducci. But he came out and had this speech about, because he's a big proponent of UFO research. Like, he thinks government should be doing more to look into the thing, and he also personally believes that there is extraterrestrial life. But he said in a speech one time that people always want to discount witnesses of sightings of the paranormal or the supernatural because they're just a human witness. But if we discount human witnesses and what they're reporting seeing, then why would we believe in the Bible? So he said to discount what eyewitness is reporting is the same as saying that the Bible didn't happen because you weren't there. So he actually acknowledges that point. You know, either you believe the eyewitness or you say eyewitness testimony is bullshit. But if you're saying eyewitness testimony is bullshit, then you also have to lump the events of the Bible in there. Because these are paranormal and supernatural events that are being reported by eyewitnesses and written down in a book, which is essentially what we're doing when we're picking up a book about the paranormal or about hauntings or UFOs or whatever. We're reading a book detailing eyewitness accounts of supernatural activity, just like the Bible.
Very true. When it comes to like UFOs and stuff like that, there's so many witnesses and so many reports. I almost feel like we can almost completely shrug off sightings of one-offs like Goatman, or, I mean, with that thought process in mind, what the fuck was the Flatwoods Monster, you know?
Yeah. And why was it only seen that one time and then it disappeared? Like, what? I love those ones though.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Flatwoods and the Dover Demon, those are that's my jam.
Yeah, those two specifically. I love the Flatwoods Monster and the Dover Demon. I love when you see one-offs. Maybe I always say that's one of the smart ones. They didn't, you know, they got spotted and cut out.
Or they got captured by the Men in Black.
Yeah.
Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones came in, regulated on the ass.
Well, another story that was sent to us that I'm calling Creepypasta. Well, you guys hear it and you make your own mind, but Miss Ashley Bowen sent it to us. Miss Ashley's been a homie of ours for a long time. And I'm a big fan of number stations. I love number stations. They've always fascinated me. But I think this story's creepypasta. Like all creepypasta, it starts when somebody posts details about some scary crap that they're experiencing. And this time it comes by the way of a tweet. The poster includes a video of a voicemail that they received from somebody who they didn't know. The voicemail was something that they didn't understand or know what it meant. Luckily for us, I did. It was a number station. It interested me because it sounded very clean. It sounded very new, and it was using common U.S. military code. You know, like Charlie, Alpha, Tango, Vahina.
I think you made that last one up, Mateo.
I did. It's vector for V. But the poster translated this code. Now, I'm going to play the code for you guys, this voicemail. It's just a small part of it, so you can see what I'm talking about. Here's that.
Sierra, Delta, Alpha, November, Golf, Echo, Romeo, Sierra, Oscar, Sierra, India, Tango, India, Sierra, Delta, India, Romeo, Echo, Foxtrot, Oscar, Romeo, Yankee, Oscar, Uniform, Tango, Oscar, Echo, Victor, Alpha, Charlie, Uniform.
So that's it. It goes on for a little while. And the dude who posted the tweet said that it, quote, translated to danger, SOS. It is dire for you to evacuate. Be cautious. They are not human. SOS, danger, SOS. So after he posts that, someone on Twitter asks, what were the coordinates? Now, I don't know about you, Mike, but when somebody sends me a fucking voicemail, I don't get their goddamn coordinates. But the poster replies...
You're just not trying hard enough, Mateo.
Well, I'll go into that a little bit more. But after that, the poster replies with a photo of a map saying, quote, someplace on the coast of Indonesia, I don't know. Then the poster puts up a tweet of a screen grab of a text they received, followed by a screen grab of the text translated from Indonesian to English. And I guess he just picked Indonesian because that's where this is the same place as the map showed. But the text said, end the post you just shared about the recording on your phone. And he also added after that he had gotten the text days before he had gotten the voicemail.
Well, that's a little weird.
But he then posts a tweet saying, quote, okay, I am sitting in my car right in front of my house in my car. And this guy started taking pictures of my house, question mark, question mark, question mark, with a flash, question mark, question mark, question mark. Then he walked away, question mark, question mark, question mark. Literally, what the fuck? It's 3 a.m. I am going to die tonight. Someone then points out that the map kind of coincided with the lost Malaysian Airlines flight. And then the whole thing just goes down this giant rabbit hole with the whole, maybe he's listening to a black box. Now, my problems with this story is that number stations are traditionally transmitted over radio airwaves. They're not called into somebody's fucking voicemail. We know number stations are used to transmit secret messages from militaries of many different governments. Many different countries have used this. I think calling someone up to play a secret message that is going to be recorded on a fucking voicemail is a dumbass way to send a message that's supposed to be secret. I mean, if you get the wrong number, whoever gets that now has it recorded and they can post it on Twitter and the whole thing would get out. It's a very stupid method of sending a secret message. Now, its decoding is traditional U.S. military code. It's also used by many police forces, but it did come out to saying that message. It did decode as danger, danger, blah, 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 blah. But that's not hard to do. As you heard, it's just the first letter of every word they say, which again is not that fucking secret. 3, if you were sitting in front of your car or in front of your house in your car at 3 a.m., and I gotta throw in that they just had to pick 3 a.m. with the whole witching hour bullshit. That's all popular new thanks to Paranormal State and shows like that. And this dude just starts taking pictures of your house. Are you gonna let that dude walk away, Mike?
I don't know.
I
mean, honestly, if some dude's outside taking pictures of my house at 3 a.m, I'm probably going to not want to confront him.
Really?
No. I'm thinking that he's got like fucking at least a really scary knife, if not a gun.
Fuck him.
If not a bomb, if not a fucking demon tentacle in his chest.
I would have grabbed my TV remote and pointed it like a gun and said, "Get on the fucking floor right now." And I would have called the cops.
I will turn your volume down, sir.
You don't know. It's 3 a.m. and dark as fuck. You know, I would at least call the cops.
Unless he's a demon and he can see in the fucking dark and he's like, "You've got a TV remote in your hand and I will not be muted."
But why are demons fucking sending him voicemails of not so secret codes? It's just too dramatic, and for me, to sit there and say I'm going to die tonight. It's just that was the final touch to make me think that it was
creepypasta. Did he ever post again after that? Because if he didn't,
I'm not sure.
If he didn't post again, then it's perfect creepypasta, and that was that.
I'm sure he did. I mean, he talked with a lot of people about it online. People made of theories with the whole Malaysian flight, like I said, but it just got too far off for me. It's a creepy story. It's great, but it's I just can't get past that being the secret message. That's not a fucking code that's unbreakable. I mean, they've had more trouble with the fucking Zodiac Killer code. And if this is some military secret code that they're trying to hide, they fucking blew it. More assholes.
You screwed the pooch, guys. You done screwed it good.
And I have to say that my daughter helped me decode that message. She actually came out here earlier before we started to make sure that I said that she helped me decode that message. So there you go, kid.
She didn't want you to take credit for it. So now we know who's doing the research on your end, huh?
Child labor.
You got I can picture it. You've got their bedroom set up like a fucking sweatshop. You just have your kids in there. Get me research, minions. And you play some dreary Russian music.
Yeah. I don't know what the East African Bigfoot is either. You're going to fucking find out. Start reading.
I got better things to do, kids. Like laundry and make your dinner. The least you can do is tell me about the Malaysian Bigfoot.
So what do you think about this story?
It's really cool, and it's definitely creepypasta.
Definitely. Even the voice of the woman saying this, because I have the voice program. And she was all over our 200th episode as well.
Yeah. The thing is, she thinks that because she's a woman, that she can easily seduce us. But you see, Mateo and I, we're made of sterner stuff than that. No sexy robot voice is gonna win us over. We've got a lazy robot who probably smokes way too much weed and drinks too many beers. But it's our robot, damn it. And is the voice of the Whatcast. It's not Mateo and I. He's the one that runs shit.
Yeah. He finds the subjects, tells us what to cover.
Gives us electric shocks.
But I liked the recording. It was cool. I like number stations. They're just the fact that somebody's sitting there saying numbers for no reason is creepy.
Yeah.
They all sound creepy.
Yeah, definitely.
But again, it was too clean, too modern sounding. I know the voice.
And it hits all the beats that the creepypasta stuff does.
Yes, exactly.
You got to hit all those beats, and they did it.
But I definitely liked it. I'm glad that Miss Ashley sent that over to us. So thank you, Ashley. That was cool to read.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for helping out.
I almost want to get like a shortwave radio or make like a ham radio and see if there's any more active number stations. I think there's a website that'll give you the frequency of active number stations.
Probably. I mean, you can find everything on the internet.
All right, so guys, so instead of ending the show with our normal witty quips.
Wait, we do? Are you saying we have witty quips?
I don't know. They're never on purpose.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know if that necessarily means they're witty. Or even quips.
Nah.
I think it's just, it's toilet humor that we laugh at.
Well, instead of ending with the toilet humor, guys, we wanted to say thank you for listening to the show, and thank you to everybody who's ever donated to us. We were able to get Mike a whole shitload of new gear.
Yeah, I'm going to take a picture of my new setup and send it to Mateo so that he can put it on our pages that have stuff, because he runs that shit.
But he has all the same stuff I do, and I mean, I acquired my gear 100% through donations from you guys, and now Mike has too, and we have shit that we never fucking thought we'd have.
Yeah, I don't even know how to use this shit. I've got blinky lights and wires all over the place, and it's crazy because, blinky lights and wires all over the place is kind of confusing. It's chaos.
It's serious business.
It is. It's chaos right in front of me. It's just a whole world of chaos. And tonight is my first time using it. So if my sound is kind of fucked up or weird sounding, that's why. So we're gonna, over the next few episodes, we'll get the sound right and get everything squared away. But thank you, everyone who donated. You guys are all the fucking man. Or whoa man, as the case may be.
Or whoa man. Literally everything we've bought is by the kindness of you guys. So thanks again. One of the coolest things about it is now Mike can add some cool sound effects to his voice. Sound like Superman's dad. What do you got, Mike?
Let's see what I got. I can't sound like Superman's voice.
But I can sound like the great and powerful wizard Hyperion.
Thank you for listening to the Whatcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, iTunes, and YouTube. Enjoy the podcast. Get yourself a Whatcast t-shirt or a sticker pack. Who was that dude on that one episode? Try the links in Homie's page. All this and more can be found at www.thewhatcasters.com. Thanks again for listening and have a great week.